Scare at LAX, an airport medical screener testing positive. Were travelers exposed? California reporting its first death, a state of emergency declared in Los Angeles County. A new warning from health officials: avoid handshakes and hugs. The release of the new James Bond movie delayed, but for months, growing concerns about movie theaters, concerts, and sporting events. Also, the major airlines slashing flights inside the U.S. and shortage fears inside a top American hospital's emergency stockpile. How long would it last? Also tonight, the stunning turn in the race for president. The Democratic primary looking more like a two-man race. Biden versus Sanders. Biden surging, mounting a historic turnaround on Super Tuesday. Sanders leading in the biggest prize, California. The new shakeup. Michael Bloomberg dropping out and endorsing Biden. Can his support and his money help put Biden over the top? The desperate search, a number still unaccounted for in that Tennessee tornado disaster. At least 24 killed. The heroes who raced to the rescue.
We pretty much just pulled the wall apart and then help them out.
And what we're learning about the victims, many of them children as young as 2. And Alex Trebek's emotional new message to fans, the milestone in his battle with cancer.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. We'll get to that big political earthquake in the race for president. Joe Biden, now the undisputed frontrunner, as yet another opponent drops out. But first, new alarm bells ringing tonight on the coronavirus outbreak in this country as the number of dead rises. More confirmed cases tonight in New York and Los Angeles, where an airport worker on the front lines of stopping the virus's spread has been infected. Officials there cautioning people about how they should interact with others going forward. While in the hardest hit area near Seattle, a sobering warning to those over the age of 60. We start with Miguel Almaguer.
Tonight in Los Angeles, a local emergency as 6 new coronavirus cases have been confirmed and now a startling warning shaking the region of 10 million people.
Use verbal salutations in place of handshakes and hugs. And whenever possible, try to keep 6 feet between you and other people that you don't know at large events.
Among those infected in L.A., a federal contract employee brought in last month to help screen international travelers at LAX who may have exposed passengers while working without symptoms. 3 others, also sick, recently traveled to Italy, where a growing outbreak has killed more than 100, shuttering all schools through mid-March. Here at home, growing concern the virus could quickly impact vulnerable homeless populations in cities across the country. The 11th fatality announced today, the first in California. An elderly passenger on a cruise ship from San Francisco to Mexico. There are now more than 150 cases in a growing number of states.
It's a little shocking because it's hitting close to home.
It comes as authorities in the nation's largest city track a new cluster of illnesses. A New York City lawyer is hospitalized, his wife, daughter, and son testing positive. A family friend who he spent time with is also positive, as are his wife and 3 children. Officials also announcing the neighbor who drove the lawyer to the hospital has the virus. The neighbor's children are being tested. The governor says no need to panic.
We're dealing with a coronavirus epidemic. We have a bigger problem, which is a fear pandemic. And the anxiety here is outpacing the reality of the situation.
But a different message near Seattle, where many of the deaths are connected to this nursing home. Officials are now urging anyone over 60, people with underlying health issues, and pregnant women to stay home if possible. Tonight, a fine line balancing caution and fear.
Doctors say the virus is spread through droplets when someone coughs or sneezes. The reason behind that 6 feet of distance, but Lester, actually implementing that in a city like this one will be difficult.
All right, Miguel Almaguer, thank you. And forget everything you thought you knew about the Democratic race for president. Tonight, the reset button has been pushed. Joe Biden, now the undisputed frontrunner after a big Super Tuesday and after yet another opponent drops out to support him. Kristen Welker joins us. Kristen, even Biden couldn't have seen it playing out quite like this.
Lester, that's right. And this is increasingly looking like a two-person race after Joe Biden's epic comeback on Super Tuesday. Bernie Sanders is still right behind him, but now Biden is getting backup from billionaire Michael Bloomberg.
Tonight, Joe Biden savoring his surprising Super Tuesday surge, going after Bernie Sanders' assertion his win was a victory for the establishment.
Is this the establishment trying to defeat Bernie Sanders, Mr. Vice President?
The establishment are all those hard-working middle-class people.
Biden also getting a boost from billionaire Michael Bloomberg, who dropped out today.
Defeating Donald Trump starts with uniting behind the candidate with the best shot to do it. And after yesterday's vote, it is clear that candidate is my friend and a great American, Joe Biden.
It all comes after Biden pulled off one of the biggest comebacks in political history, winning a string of southern states last night, along with surprises, Texas, Massachusetts, and Minnesota taking a delegate lead.
So I'm here to report we are very much alive.
His fiery speech momentarily interrupted when protesters rushed the stage, even his wife, Jill Biden, stepping in. The Democratic primary now a two-person race. While Sanders didn't have the strong night he was looking for, he did win 3 states and is leading in the biggest, California.
We are going to win the Democratic nomination.
Today, Sanders sharpening his attacks on Biden.
Joe is going to have to explain to the American people why he voted for a Wall Street bailout, something that I vigorously opposed.
Releasing this new ad blasting Biden's past comments on Social Security.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well.
Now all eyes on the other progressive senator in the race, Elizabeth Warren, who's assessing her campaign after a disappointing night.
I put something out on it this morning. She was really a spoiler.
Biden later telling NBC's Savannah Guthrie.
Look, I think the one thing the president doesn't want to do from the very beginning is face me, because I will beat him. Period.
Kristen Welker, NBC News, Los Angeles.
This is Andrea Mitchell in New York, where former mayor and billionaire Mike Bloomberg's campaign is over, but not his pledge to defeat Donald Trump by backing Joe Biden.
And I hope you will join me in working to make him the next president of the United States of America.
He and Biden talked this morning, with Bloomberg offering his help.
I see Mini Mike just got out, and he's going to, try and save face by putting some money into Biden's campaign. We'll see what happens. I don't think that's going to have an impact.
Bloomberg cannot legally donate more than $2,800 to Biden, but he can start a super PAC, provide boots on the ground in battleground states, and help Biden's online fundraising.
I'm sorry we didn't win, but it's still the best day of my life, and tomorrow is going to be even better.
But Bloomberg proved that money alone cannot deliver votes, having spent nearly $500 million on ads and winning no states, getting only 24 delegates so far at a cost of $18.5 million per delegate.
Bloomberg first got into the race because he felt Biden couldn't win. But after Biden's landslide in South Carolina, followed by Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg dropping out, he now believes Biden does have the best chance of anyone to defeat President Trump. Lester.
Andrea Mitchell here in New York. Thank you. There's more on the coronavirus now. Strong new ripple effects today. United Airlines announcing big cuts in its schedules, just as families plan for spring break and summer vacations. Other airlines taking action as well. Tom Costello has more.
For the travel industry, the coronavirus has been a body blow. Cruise ships quarantined, meetings and conferences called off, corporate travel curtailed, study abroad programs and school trips canceled. Now, with demand dropping, United Airlines is announcing unprecedented deep cuts to its schedule. 10% of domestic flights and 20% of international flights will be cut in April and probably also in May as it parks planes. Fewer planes means fewer seats. With airline stocks in deep decline, United now says it's offering unpaid leave to employees. At the White House today, airline CEOs conveyed their concern.
This is a time unprecedented in our history that we need to be absolutely understanding of people's travel plans.
Yeah, I think where these people are flying, it's safe to fly, and large portions of the world are very safe to fly.
But the largest flight attendants union is calling for hand sanitizers on planes and in airports, thorough aircraft cleaning, and covering lost wages for aviation workers exposed to the virus. Already, U.S. airlines are waiving ticket change and cancellation fees and suspending certain international flights. Japanese airlines also cutting back on flights. And today, Germany's Lufthansa announced it's grounding 20% of its planes, though health experts urge U.S. travelers not to overreact.
Traveling across the United States, I wouldn't cancel any of my plans.
Airlines clean their planes at night using disinfectants, but the CDC said today the virus can live on surfaces inside the plane for up to 24 hours. All the more reason, say experts, bring your own sanitary wipes, wipe down the tray tables and the armrests as soon as you sit down. Lester?
Some important information there, Tom. Thank you. And Hollywood now feeling the impact of the coronavirus. The release of the new James Bond movie has been pushed back as concerns grow over public gathering places like movie theaters, concerts, and sports events. Joe Fryer has that.
Like a Bond villain, coronavirus has pushed the release of the next 007 film, No Time to Die, from April to November. The first major movie shifting its rollout because of the outbreak.
I think we got to prioritize people's safety over the movie coming out.
From movies to music festivals, questions are swirling around large public events. In Texas, major companies like Twitter and Facebook pulled out of the South by Southwest Festival, which starts in 9 days. Austin's mayor says health officials will ultimately recommend if the show should go on.
At this point, there's no evidence to suggest that canceling South by Southwest makes the community safer.
In Miami, our affiliate WTVJ reports the Ultra Music Festival has been postponed, while Chicago State University's basketball squads have canceled games and travel this week, but the NCAA's March Madness is still going on as planned. For the person who's worried about, do I go to that big concert or do I go to a big sporting event, is there good advice you can give them right now?
It's a very personal decision because we don't have the scientific basis to tell you what the probabilities are at this point.
What we do know, experts say, is coronavirus can spread between people within 6 feet of each other and before someone shows symptoms. Joe Fryer, NBC News.
We'll be right back in 60 seconds with an inside look at one major medical center planning for a possible coronavirus pandemic, what they're worried about, and the question, is your hospital ready? With the coronavirus spreading in the U.S., there are growing concerns about potential shortages of life-saving drugs and medical equipment. NBC's Stephanie Gosk went inside the secret emergency stockpile for a top U.S. hospital to find out how long it would last.
The warehouse is miles from the hospital in an undisclosed location.
It's important that we kind of keep the location under wraps.
Boston's Mass General has been getting ready for a pandemic for years.
Most of it is personal protective equipment. It's the gloves, it's the gowns.
But this emergency cache of supplies, as impressive as it may seem, is only a stopgap.
The goal was to give us about a 2-week buffer.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
That's not a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time.
We are working closely with our state public health partners.
Mass General activated its emergency operation plan weeks ago.
This, no question, is the hardest possible kind of surge planning for us. Not just more patients, but more patients that need specialized equipment in a specialized space.
The N95 masks are low, but that isn't the only concern. In a worst-case scenario, they may need more ventilators.
We also do have strategies in place to use our ventilators in very unusual ways, such as putting 2 people on 1 ventilator.
Do you worry about actual drugs, pharmaceuticals?
I absolutely worry about drugs.
Last week, the FDA announced the first known drug shortage because of coronavirus. Much of our drug supply depends on manufacturing in China.
Are there particular drugs or categories of drugs that you really have your eyes focused on right now?
I think some of the antibiotics.
Antibiotics, the stuff we use every day.
Every day.
Looking ahead, Dr. Paul Bittinger has a message.
We have to all come together as a society. If everyone comes to the medical system for evaluation, even with mild symptoms, it overwhelms the medical system.
Even at one of the top hospitals in the country. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, Boston.
All right, let's turn now to Tennessee and the catastrophic tornadoes that killed dozens as they ripped through the Nashville area, one sweeping over 50 miles. Tonight, a few are still unaccounted for. Katie Beck is there.
Heartbroken communities grappling with the aftermath of Tennessee's devastating tornadoes. Homes destroyed and debris for miles. Now, the heavy lifting as residents return to the mess Mother Nature left behind.
Just the fact that we're breathing and that we walked out from that is ridiculous to me.
Hunter Briley made it to the basement with his wife and dogs just seconds before his house caved in. His new truck thrown across his property.
It's an 8,000-pound truck that was just picked up like a toy.
Like so many others, he returned to nothing.
Yeah, to have, a local restaurant gave us T-shirts to wear because we didn't have any more.
24 people were killed, at least 4 of them under the age of 10, including 2-year-old Sawyer, who was with her parents Josh and Erin Kimberlin. One friend today saying they are all in heaven together. Carl Frazee was killed in his home. His daughter says he died saving his girlfriend. Michael Dolfini and Albry Sexton were heading home after a night out.
2 of my friends died last night. We are strong and we are rallying for our people.
That strength in full force across Tennessee, where volunteers and first responders are pitching in, including Reserve Sergeant Andrew Farner, who spoke with Sam Brock today.
The house was laying on top of them.
In the minutes after a tornado touched down on his street, Farner rushed to help at least 6 people injured or trapped nearby. Today, he's still out here and still helping.
I think that's just in my DNA, but this is my neighborhood. These are my people. When we take the oath and we put on that uniform, that's what that means.
This house has been in Lisa Kutra's family for 50 years. She's now scouring her childhood home for any keepsakes.
It's hard. My mom and my daddy, and just lots of memories.
Kutra's lost her mother 5 years ago, but today says she found her again in this old photo face down under the refrigerator.
So I picked it up and I'm like, there you are.
What do you think it means?
Oh, she's here. She's with us.
Shared moments of grief and gratitude in a community with a common cause. Katie Beck, NBC News, Nashville.
A lot of strength and determination on display there tonight. An emotional update this evening from Alex Trebek about his battle with pancreatic cancer. In a video, the Jeopardy host said he's grateful to have beaten the odds and reached the 1-year mark, but it's been a struggle.
I joked with friends that the cancer won't kill me, the chemo treatments will, because so many of us are involved in this same situation. If we take it just one day at a time with a positive attitude, anything is possible.
Our continued best wishes to Alex Trebek. Coming up, why should anyone have to wait 6 hours standing in line just to vote? Behind the big delays on Super Tuesday. There is frustration and anger tonight among some voters in the 2 biggest Super Tuesday states. NBC's Cynthia McFadden on why many were forced to wait hours before casting their ballots.
This seemingly endless line in Los Angeles last night wasn't for the latest blockbuster. These people were waiting to vote. Hours and hours and hours of waiting. All over Los Angeles County, voters had a particularly tough time casting their ballots.
Folks who are at the front of this line here, I'd say have been here about 2.5 hours now.
And so did thousands of people in Texas.
We've been sitting out here for 5 hours.
This must be what voter suppression looks like.
Both Houston and L.A. made the same change this year, going from neighborhood polling stations to super vote centers designed to make voting easier. In Harris County, Texas, over 350 polling places were eliminated. In L.A. County, a whopping 3,500 gone.
If you don't put the new vote centers in the right location, and if you misjudge the traffic you're going to have, you overtax your staff, and you can just have a real mess.
And there's more. Troubles with L.A. County's brand new voting machines that had cost taxpayers $300 million.
There are only 5 voting stations in there. 3 of them are working. One has been out of commission for 4 days. The other one had a paper jam.
Despite warnings that the system had problems, the machines were rolled out for the primary. The L.A. County supervisor is calling for an investigation. Everybody agrees about one thing. Whatever your politics, it shouldn't be this hard to vote. Not in America. Cynthia McFadden, NBC News, New York.
And up next, the cheerleading dads bringing it on for their daughters. Yeah, there's been a lot of tough news out there, and I thought we could all use a reason to cheer. And you're about to meet a group of dads going to the mat, really going to the mat to cheer on their daughters. Kevin Tibbles explains.
Meet the dancing, prancing dads of South Jersey, the Daddy Bolts.
busting a few moves to support and encourage their daughters. Cheerleaders with the local Lindenboro Chargers Club.
We just, are doing everything we can to show them that, we want to be involved in their lives.
So when asked to strut their stuff in front of a packed gymnasium, the fellows had no idea what was in store.
We are sweating, huffing and puffing. There's adrenaline pumping.
I mean, after all, there wasn't a gymnast in the bunch.
We have police officers, firefighters, military.
After 6 practices, the Flying Fathers weren't fooling around. This was going to be a real routine.
When they seen what we was actually doing, they were like, whoa.
Whoa, indeed. And when it was time to shake and shimmy, there were screams and kudos from the kids.
Just put this big smile on my face, and it just makes me so happy.
The thought that he can do it is absolutely crazy.
The Daddy Bulls, something worth flipping for. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News.
See, doesn't it feel good to smile? That's Nightly News for this Wednesday. I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, thank you for watching, and good night. Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights.